Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, brother.
We've figured out your good side now. Well, we haven't actually figured it out.
We have no idea.
We have no idea, but we just keep spinning. We're never going to get a proper lock on it.
Yeah, I'll just hit you with each side.
Bit of blue steel as well there. No, bro, it's cool. It's cool to get you on the pod. I remember we met about a year ago at the gym. And I remember I was walking out and you had a tattoo on your arm and it was kind of a similar style that I liked. And it was a boy climbing through a window.
Yeah. I remember that.
Is that you? Are you the boy? Because I remember asking about it and you said it's like, he's like going to do something. It's like mischief. And
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. No, I think I saw the design one time online. I don't know where it was, what it was. It wasn't on somebody. It was just a design. And I was like, that's sick because I've just done obviously plenty of mischievous things in my time. I'm like, you know what? That's a cool tattoo. Like I like the idea of, I snuck out the window a couple times, go do some things. And so yeah, I just loved it. But obviously, I mean, with the amount of tattoos, I love a good random tattoo. Throw a design on the body. It'll be permanent. That's all good.
Sick. Do you think as well with that, like it's like the idea of adventure?
Yeah.
Like he's going on an adventure. Like
exactly. Like and I think that's the, I mean, it almost fits in with the rest of the tattoos. It's all an adventure. It's all a journey. You know what I mean? So, yeah, sneaking out the house, adventurous, going out and doing things. Yeah, definitely fits my aesthetic if I have one.
Do you feel like you've always been like that? Like gone to just go out of your way to just go on an adventure?
I think a bit. I think when I was younger, my sister was more of the wild child. I have an older sister. And then so I was like overcompensated, was a good kid, like took all the honors classes, played 3 sports through high school and everything like that. So I was a little bit more tame. And then I got to college and then I just kind of started doing a little bit more living while I was in college. And then got out of college and then just kind of, then I was just like, you know what? It was at a certain point, I had an aunt pass away, which was, I mean, like, we were close, but we weren't amazingly close. But, and I think that was the first time that something like finally hit me where it was just like the life short type of idea finally hit my mind of how short this life really can be at times. And so that's kind of when I started just like living more. And then, within a year after that happening is when I started playing baseball in Europe and came out to Australia doing this bunch of stuff. So.
Yeah, it's crazy how it takes something like that to happen and you go, oh shit.
Yeah, like you had the accident relatively recently. Not to say you weren't, living it up beforehand, but I remember having a chat with you at the pub just talking about how that changes your mindset because it like.
Yeah, you realize it's like obviously not death, but when I was laying there on the ground, I was like, fuck, I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to get on a plane properly again. I'm never going to have sex again. I'm never going to like experience all these amazing things that life has to offer. And in that moment, like I've felt like I've lived a pretty out there life and I've seen a lot, felt a lot, experienced a lot of things, but there's always more to do. And I think in those moments you really go, oh shit, like this almost got turned off. And then to have it come back, you're like, fuck man, there's so much I want to do. And I guess when you see that when your auntie passed away, you kind of go, shit, okay, this can end like that. And we don't know when that's going to happen. So you might as well fill up your cup as much as you can while you can.
Exactly.
How did you feel? Like, what was the first thing you said? You started playing baseball. Did you feel just when that happened, you go, okay, I need to not do it for them, but like do it for yourself. But they also instilled this thing where you're like, okay, they're not here now. I am. I need to go and do as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. So the thing with her, I mean, like, she's a sweet woman, but she was a bit of a recluse. She never really did anything. Like she was in the house. I think she had maybe like 1 or 2 boyfriends, never had kids, like just lived her own life, was an accountant, lived alone, like just was kind of like by herself all the time. And then she got diagnosed with cancer and then finally went to London, I think was the place she always wanted to go. So she finally went and had the time of her life. And I remember I told her that I wanted to travel, and then she was like, you know what, I love that you want to travel. So, like, she allocated a small amount of money in her will. I think it was like $5,000 or something like that, and just said, like, take this. I know it's not much, and go. Just, like, spend it on travel. And so, yeah, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I just want to go. I want to get out, because, at the end of my, like, real I divide my baseball, like professional baseball career, into like two different sections. There was like real baseball career, which was when I was in the States, like trying to make it. And then it was like, once I hit that, I want to travel, I want to go do other things. That's like the second part of my baseball career, which has been much more fun. Obviously that baseball competitiveness like isn't the same in Europe or Australia, but I stopped playing for that, and I played more just because it was a ticket to get me to go other places.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of it was, she passes away, and I was like, I want to travel. Found out there was baseball in Europe, didn't even know. And then I was like, I'm going. So that was like 2020. Unlucky. My friend and I, one of my best friends and I signed up to go play on the same team in the south of France. And then 2020, obviously, COVID hit. So we were 10 days from our flight out. We had everything booked, visas in our passport, everything like that. Canceled it. Or the EU shut its borders is what happened, so we couldn't get over there. And then, so that got canceled. Then I signed a contract to come out here in like 2020, 2021. That got canceled, obviously. They weren't allowing anybody in. Re-signed to go to Europe. Finally actually made it out there. I ended up going to the Czech Republic for a couple months, then to France for a couple months. And then tried to come out here, didn't work out again. They still weren't letting people in. And then from there, went back out to London. I was in London for like 6 months playing out there, and then came out here for like 7 months last year. That was when I met you. Went back home for a few months, and then decided to come back out here again. So yeah, this last couple of years has been a breeze, been a blast. But
what's it like playing in Europe? Like, is it competitive, like really competitive over there? Because I didn't even, I didn't know it was even played over there.
Yeah, it's, there's some competitive leagues. There's other non-competitive leagues. There's no league. I mean, there's maybe one or two. Italy has a really good league, and then the Netherlands have a really good league. Those are like actual professional baseball leagues. Like, it's real. It's all ex-pros pretty much.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's not nearly the level that like I played earlier in the States.
Yeah.
So it's lower level. Each team allocates a little bit of money to pay a couple, like you get like 2 or 3 guys like me that get paid to go out there. Part of it's playing to help the team. You're coaching some of the kids to try and make baseball bigger. So like that's the goal, is like they want to make baseball more popular. This select group of people want to make baseball more popular in their country. And so they, bring a couple people to make their team better and make the kids better.
Yeah.
So there's some good baseball out there, not what you see in the States at all.
But you're saying you're enjoying that more because of the fact that you could travel, you could help other people, you could do all these things, where back home it's like more tunnel vision but more serious? Is that what I'm kind of getting?
Exactly. Out in Europe, it was like, well, when you play professional baseball, just like any professional sport, it's a sport, but it's a business. Yeah. And I kind of got caught in that, like, it's just a business, and I was just worried about myself, and no one in like the minor leagues in the U.S., which is like the farm system, the lower level professional teams, no one cares about winning. Like, that kind of goes out. It's all just about like personal statistics and personal development and trying to make it to the top. And then, so I just kind of lost that like competitive nature. I was just trying to be good, not competitive and help win.
Yeah.
And then you get to Europe, and it's just like everyone's like, most of the guys on the teams out there have day jobs. They're working a 9 to 5 and then rolling in with their work boots on and then playing a game of baseball on a Friday night. And it's like they're only playing to have fun and to win.
Yeah.
Like some of the guys, like most of the guys don't get paid and stuff like that. So it kind of gets back to that, like, they're not, no one's trying to just, play for themselves and worry about the statistics and see if they can get to the next level. There is no next level. They're just doing it like to have a good time with the boys and to try and win a championship. So that's why it was sick, because it was just like I was always having fun and always trying to win. So it brought back that like kind of the high school, like,
it's like nostalgic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's when I loved baseball the most, was when it was like I'm out with my friends and we just want to win. And that's when I, was the happiest, or like having the most fun, and also when I was at my best. I was like, I just play better when I'm like, I want to win. When I'm trying to compete, I can play better. Whereas like natural talent, like some guys are just way better than I am. That's why I got cut and released anyways. Like, but yeah, so it was so fun. Same thing out here. Like, it's just like guys coming out and having a good time and living it up and, you know, hoping to win a championship. So that's what it's about. And that's why I love it so much more than my real professional career in the US.
Yeah, man, I can relate to that so much with the whole racing thing. And like you said, that when you're just having fun, everything comes from that. Like, success is a byproduct from having fun doing the thing that you enjoy. It's like when you get to that point, I always say it's hard to balance once you get money involved, because as soon as you get money involved, you go from I'm doing this because I want to do this and I enjoy it to I'm doing this because I have to do this. And I think once you put a dollar figure on, again, it's like your art, like your art's baseball or racing or literally painting. As soon as you put a dollar figure on that, it's kind of up for judgment of like, you're worth this much. So then when you're playing it and it's like, okay, if I don't play well, I'm not going to get paid enough, so I'm not worth as much. When then you go and do it with these guys that are working a 9-to-5 job and they're coming at like, oh man, I get to play baseball now. Like, they have a reference point of like, going to work a 9-hour day in construction or in an office was so shit, and now I got to go hit balls with my friends and try and win and enjoy it. And they take away that money value of like, well, I'm not even getting paid, I'm doing this because I want to. And it just makes that love for it, I feel like, so much richer. And it's funny, I can relate so much to going, it's like we all want to be a professional at what we do, and then you become a professional and you go, oh fuck, I don't know if I enjoy this as much. And then you get burnt out from it.
Exactly.
And then you got to find those things like helping other people or putting yourself in a position where people are like on the come up, because the come up's the bit that is so fun, because you're like, it's like that what if, like, what if I make it, or what if I do it? And then I think when you make it, you try so hard to protect the fact you've made it, you look at the fall, not the peak. Like when you're coming up, you're looking at the peak of where you want to go, and then you get to it, you're like, shit, I don't want to fall off this now. And then you become nervous because you're like, almost feel unbalanced in a way.
No, that's actually a great way to put it. Yeah, it's that you have that innate fight of, I want to get there, I want to get there, I want to get there, and then you make it, and then and then you're kind of playing, you play tight, you don't play loose, like, and then it just is, you know, exactly like you're saying. It's like you get tight, and then you're not playing for fun, you're playing to try and maintain something, maintain a job, maintain the status, like maintain that feeling, I guess. And it just, you kind of lose that, like the drive. But that's one of the most fun things about kind of like what you're saying, is like helping other people. Now, I coached kids for like younger kids, and I enjoy coaching younger kids because young kids are fun. But I think I do my best work with like the kids that are pretty good and they're around like 16-ish, you know, where they're already...
I can relate to that as well,
Yeah, and it's like, that's when I have the most fun, because it's like, I can take these kids and I'm like, all right, I was there relatively recently. I mean, shit, I'm getting old now. Not old, but I can take those types of kids and like mentor, and I'm sure that you have the same exact thing. Yeah, it's like once you have, you know, you've seen so much, you've done so much, you have so much knowledge in this one specific area, and you can kind of deliver that onto somebody and really push them and kind of see, you know, where they can go with it. And that's, I think, is awesome. Because it's like at this point, like, I'm playing to be successful and win and stuff like that. But, you know, if I work with somebody and then watch them be successful, then I'm like, that, you know, you get that gratitude, that feeling of like, okay, this is cool.
It sits deeper in your head. Yeah. You're like, whoa, and it just keeps growing. It's like you planted this seed, and then you get to just enjoy how the tree grows.
Absolutely.
But like you said there, to be a good teacher, you don't have to be 15 steps ahead. You just have to be a couple. And as long as you're 2 steps ahead of the person you're teaching, the information you're going to be feeding into them is going to be probably more present in your mind. And that's when it comes to, like you say, it's harder to coach beginner kids into baseball because you're so far ahead of that point. Well, when you teach 16 or 17-year-old kids, it's like you have that little bit of knowledge and experience to bridge that gap between like good to great. And I think that's why I felt I can relate more. And it's like the basics, I'm not going to teach them that well, because to me, it's almost like you're unconsciously conscious of those thoughts. Like you don't really kind of know how to hit a ball the way you hit a ball now, because you've become that good at it. So if you're teaching someone who's never hit a ball, you'd be like, kind of like, fuck, how do I actually do this? And you've got to consciously think about it. Where if you go talk to a 16-year-old kid about like the pressure of being like, okay, bases are loaded, it's the 4th or whatever, we're going in, like where's your headspace at? How do you feel? Like, just, you can relate more to that, because that's what they need. Because they can already hit a ball pretty well by the time you would get to them. So it's like they don't need those little bits of knowledge. They need, like, I guess, a broader understanding of more the, like, their mental capacity going into stuff like that. You almost need to, like, I always say the thing you probably put into them the most out of anything is belief. Like, you'd say, like, you can do this. Like, the motivation and belief that you put into, like, kids that age, I think that's what, because a lot of them would doubt themselves because they haven't made it. Like, they're kind of at that tipping point and they're kind of like, can I do it? And then you come in and be like, yeah, man. And then show them obviously some tips and pointers. Like, they'll be like, okay, I can. And once you have that belief system, have you found that when you have that belief system in yourself that you can do something, it's like, it's kind of obvious that it's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, once you get to a certain point, I think is when that happens. It's like, I think it was, I mean, like in high school, you know, I mean, I know it's different in the U.S. than it is out here, but, you know, you start getting, like, recruited when you're pretty young to go to college, right? And I think when I mean, like, here's something right off the bat when you say that makes me think of, I was 15 playing on a 16-year-old team, and we were playing against this team that had a really good pitcher, and he was 16, already committed to go to a really good college, right? And I had a really good game off him. And the second time, I hit, like, back-to-back triples, right? And the second time, I slid into third base, and I, like, stand up, and my coach goes, I'm going to get you a Division I scholarship. Like, he didn't say, like, slap my hand or anything like that. He just watched me do it twice in a row, and he said it to me. And he played Division I and had been coaching for 25 years. And I think that was when that I still remember it vividly. I could see his face looking at me. I'm still on my knees on the ground. I just slid into the base. And that's, I think, when it, like, went, and I was like, okay, if this guy believes in me and he's seen it and done it, like, I can make this happen. Like, this is legitimate, you know? And yeah, some of that kind of, like, you just need that, like we're talking about, you need that outside influence that just tells you, like, hey, you can do it. I can get, like, you know, you have it there. We can do this for you. And then it's just like, bang, you know, like, now I really feel like I can. And then you just continue on, and then obviously things build on each other and end up making it. But, yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, that sense of belief that I'm sure that most people have a similar story to, like, what I was just saying, where it's like somebody said one thing to you at one time, or you felt one thing, or a little bit of success that just, you know, there's some switch in the back of your brain that it flicks up, and then you're all of a sudden like, oh, I could do this.
I can do it, yeah. And that's, like, one person.
Mm-hmm.
You only need one person to really, like, believe in you. And it makes it better if they've done what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can believe in someone even if you've never touched a bike or a baseball bat or anything like that. But if you've got someone, like you said, the guy who's seen it, who's coached people, who's, like, he's been in it, and he goes, yep, you've got it. You go, fuck, like, do I? And then you're like, I kind of feel like I do. Like, and then that builds on itself. Because like, how do you put a value or percentage on, like, what belief does for you? Like, it's so hard to understand on, like, a metric of how much better of an athlete you become once you believe in yourself. Because you can want to do really well, but if you don't actually have the belief that, like, I'm kind of the man, then what do you lose out on, like, a scale? Like, are you at, like, 90% how good you could do something? It's like that last little 10% is the belief that gets you to that 100. But it'd just be like, I don't know, different athletes would probably have different ways of looking at it, because I don't think it's like you can be a really good athlete and still not believe that you are, like, the best at what you do. But it's like, how much more would that add on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I know, like, in baseball, we talk about how it's like every good baseball player is a bit of a douchebag. And I think that probably switches into multiple different sports. And it's not that, like, being a douchebag in a disrespectful way, but it's a douchebag, like, walking around knowing that you're good. And those are, you know, that's why in a lot of sports, I mean, you know, you meet so many good people in sports, and even the douchebags are typically good people. But nonetheless, there's everyone that's really good is at least a little bit cocky. They have it in them. And some people are really good at hiding it.
Yeah.
But those same guys, and it's like the douchiness or the cockiness is just belief in themselves disguised. Like it's like the same thing. It's just instead of, just having that overall belief of like, I'm the man. And every once in a while you got to talk about it, you got to get it out, but like having that true inner belief of like, I'm the best guy on this field, or for you, I'm the best guy on the bike today.
Yeah.
Like that, that confidence that takes out a lot of that like fear and that innate sense of, can I do it? The confidence in yourself and knowing you have it is crucial.
And you stop, like you say there, you're loose and you're not looking at the fall. You're not looking at, what's going to go wrong in this scenario. You're like looking at the perfect outcome, and that's all you see. And that's all that's probably going to happen. Like this whole idea of people talk about it a lot, and it kind of, in some ways, becomes a bit cringy, but it's like manifesting an outcome or visualizing an outcome. And it's like you normally hit what you aim for. So if you aim for that thing, you're like, oh, this good stuff keeps happening. Like all your energy is on that thing. That's why. Talks about like, if I said, look around in this room, and I was going to say, find everything that's red in this room. And you'd look around and you might see, there's not a whole
lot off the top of my head.
But you would find something, hey?
Yeah.
And then I'd look at me like, what color, don't look, but what color is the book on the table?
Yeah.
So it's like you aim for the red, you found a little bit of red. Obviously, if I said, look for the book, what books do you see? You'd be like, oh, it's a blue book. But that comes back to like, what you see and what you visualize. It's like, it's all that stuff is always in this room.
Yeah.
But it's like you're aiming for that. And that's when people are like, oh man, all this good stuff keeps happening. And it's like, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking into. And there's always a million things in one room that you could find, but it's like, what do you want to find? And once you realize that and you go, okay, that's the thing, then it will keep coming.
It's a great way to look at it. It's like the narrow focus. Yeah. Yeah. When you get the tunnel vision, not in a bad way, because obviously there can be some bad tunnel vision, but when you have that tunnel vision towards a success, then
it comes.
It comes.
Yeah.
It does.
And that's what you say, that cockiness that those people have, they just see exactly what they want. And I think that's when you can see it. It's like all this other stuff that's always there just goes out of their minds because they're like, okay, this is what I want. And that probably comes across as cocky in a way because you're not entertaining all these other things that are there, people, parties, other things. Like, no, this is me. You're like, oh, he's so cocky now. And you're like, yeah, because he's like locked onto something. But then it comes back to, I guess, the opinion of others in those situations. Like when you actually are super like confident and focused, it's like all the other white noise like doesn't matter because it's like, well, why would I care? Like it's not, like it doesn't concern me. Like people's opinion of me shouldn't concern me because realistically it's like, why does that matter? And I heard this thing, it's like, I'd never care about the opinions of people that are doing less than I am. Or like, it's like, why would I care? Like I'm not looking, if it was an opinion of someone you looked up to, you might go, oh shit, maybe I need to change something. But if it's someone that's like done nothing and you wouldn't, like, I don't see them as being exciting or doing anything crazy. So I'm like, why would I care about that opinion that you'd have on me? But I also do understand that there would be some cockiness as well that like you could obviously see, but I guess it's, how you would express that to that person or like, because I'm sure you would have been at games where you're feeling like the man, but it's like you don't give a fuck if people are like, oh, Andy's the man, what, are you the man this weekend kind of thing? Or you're like doing that. It's like, just doing me, bro. Like I'm just trying to do the best I can kind of thing. And that feels like it carries, it's a hard balancing act, because you look at someone like Conor McGregor and you're like, he's a billionaire pretty much because of how he carried himself. Yeah. Like how he came across as that cocky, but also super humble. That was, I think, the thing that people enjoyed about him was when he lost, and even when he won, like he was super respectful. Like even like after the Nate Diaz fight, like all that shit that went down, and then afterwards he was just like you see when they get up, he actually like pulls him up and they have like a hug after all that shit. I think that's why I made that so such a good storyline, was because it, like they had all that hatred and anger, but then at the end they kind of just like broke out for that like small thing.
Just a general amount of respect that you have for somebody else. Like yeah, I mean, all that trash talk, shit talk that happens, you know, before, after, whatever it is, but you definitely respect anyone who's playing at something at the same level and having success at the same level that you're doing, you know? So that makes sense. But yeah, no, that's a good point on Conor McGregor, because yeah, everyone knows him as this, like, they know the outward, you know, like that big personality that he has, but also he came from the very, very bottom and was self-made. And yeah, I mean, like, again, he deserves to kind of have some of that, like, that cockiness and that outward feeling of, you know, I'm him, as people say now. But
Imagine going from one end of the spectrum to the other, like from the, like, not lowest of lows, but like just on welfare to millions and millions of dollars, and then you did it by fighting in a cage and talking shit, and then people come out with their opinion of like, you should be like this. And you're like, bro, you become the most famous athlete in the world. You have millions of dollars. You came from like the lowest of lows, and you fight people in a cage, and then they expect like this certain idolized person to come out and be like a good, like, not that he's a bad person, but like he did some like hectic stuff. But then people's opinion of like what he is, I'm like, he beats up people in a cage. Like, what do you expect from a dude that does that? Like, let him do his thing.
Yeah, no, I can't. First of all, I can't even imagine being in the position that he's in now. But yeah, no, I think that's, you know, honestly, I think that's something that I have always wanted to be better about. Is I do more than I want to. I do concern myself with what people think of me, and it's something that like I am constantly working to fight against, you know. And so I think I'm sure that has played a part in why I haven't been maybe as successful as I could have been in multiple different ventures in my life. 'Cause yeah, you know, like I'm sure you do, you know people, I know people. Some people really just don't care about what other people think. And it's wildly impressive to me. And I think I am a people pleaser to my core. Like that's part of my personality, and it's not something, you know, I do it, I think, to a fault at certain times. And I just honestly, I believe that, you know, a lot of success comes from that, when you get to that certain point of fuck the other people's ideas and perceptions, you do find probably more and extra success from that. Because you know, it's that you just want to be, at least in my head, a lot of times, like I want to be a certain, you know, I have this image of who I want to be, right? And that's a good thing for the most part, because it pushes you to be a certain person. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, when I can't turn off the whole what other people are thinking of me, then it's in the back of the head, it's the, you know, well, what are they going to think if I don't turn out that good, or if I don't turn out that type of person? You know what I mean? And I think that was part of my, I mean, I was, you know, had a relatively successful professional baseball career in the U.S. Not great, did okay. But I think there was always that piece of me that was like, okay, I made it. I want to make it further. Like, what happens to me if I don't make it, in terms of what are people going to think of me if I say that I didn't make it? You know what I mean?
Did you feel like your identity became with baseball as well, that it's like, this is what I do now, this is my thing, and then you get accolades from people who go, oh, yeah, Andy plays baseball, he's really good at it. And did you feel like that's the thing? It's like, well, this is the thing I'm good at now. People give me, like, I guess, praise for doing this. It feels nice. I feel like socially I'm like doing the right thing. I'm an athlete, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, the whole, like, I want to go adventure. And then those two things kind of conflicting. How did that feel?
Absolutely. I think that's exactly what I was feeling. Is at the time, you know, I was young. I signed my first contract at 20, so not super young, but 20 years old. I signed my first contract, and then I remember like coming back in, you know, the off season after my first season of professional baseball had ended, and came back, and I would just, you know, kind of go out, because I went back to the same town that my college was in, and I was living there with my, you know, now ex-girlfriend, and yeah, it was I sign this contract, I go play professional baseball, and now everybody in this circle knows that I'm the professional baseball player, and it feels good. Like, it's cool. Like, it's like, oh man, I did it. All these people are like, hey, congratulations. Like, that's so cool. And then it's like, it's like, what's your name? And I'm like, I'm Andy. What do you do? I play professional baseball. Like, it feels cool. It's awesome. It's a cool feeling temporarily, but absolutely my identity got caught up in it. And, not to a fault, not to where it was, I became this big douchebag or acted better than people. That's not the type of person I am. But I did get caught up in, like, I am this professional baseball player. And then those thoughts start to creep in as, like, when I start to, maybe I have a little bit of failure, which in baseball is part of the game. Everyone fails. So maybe I have a little bit of failure. And then those thoughts start to creep in, because I'm worried about this perception, about this aura that I've created of Andy, the professional baseball player, and, thinking it's cool that my girlfriend gets to say she's dating a professional baseball player, and she thinks it's cool. And it's like, well, if I don't succeed, then what happens?
Yeah. Who am I outside of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I found other things that I care about, and I think that now, now it's like if my baseball career ends, I'm fine with it, because now I'm just playing for fun anyways. I'm playing more to go do things and experience things than I am for the actual baseball. So I'm not stressed about the end of a career, because I'm not stressed about that being my identity anymore. But it sure was at one time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
when it can get taken away from you. It's funny the thing you said there about where, like, when you go to a party or go somewhere, someone introduce you as, Andy, the professional baseball player. And then I guess every time you go somewhere, you're like, well, that's me. I'm like, I'm the professional baseball. Yeah. And I started to notice it more when I was with some mates that would, like, that introduce you as that. And you kind of go, that's funny, because straight away you think, okay, this is Dean, professional mountain bike racer. Now, in my head, I think, okay, who do you think I am now? Because I'm a professional mountain bike rider, because I don't feel like I'm a typical mountain bike person. So it's like, you're going to have this idea that whatever your perception of what mountain bikers are, then your perception of what a professional at that thing is. And it's like these different things that this person has now got. And I guess in that moment, they wouldn't even, like, subconsciously not even really think about it, but like, okay, this person might be driven, they're probably outdoors, like, all that stuff happens in it. But it's like, you don't know, for each person's going to have a different perception of what that means to them. So it's like how you introduce a friend, I think, it's very, like, the whole first impressions last. And it's like, okay, professional baseball player, professional whatever it is, it's like that person that is being told now is going to straight away have this perception of, okay, Andy's like this, and this. And it can be a good and a bad thing, but it's, like, funny, because I just started saying to people, like, if I introduce them, like, oh, this is, like, Lockie, he's a really good dude. Like, something like that. And it's just like, it almost needs to, I feel like that's a better way to introduce someone, because it's like, oh, straight away, like, oh, he's a really good person. And then you can build on that to obviously what you do afterwards. But it's like the core of, like, introducing someone should just be like, say something about who they are, not what they do. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's going to give the person receiving it a better way of understanding who that person is, instead of just like this, like, dart in the dark kind of thing of where it's going to land on for them. Because it's like, it'd be funny now, we'll get into it later, like, but it's like with the whole Love Island thing. And I know I've had a friend that was on it, and my mate is like, oh, this is whoever, he was on Love Island. You have a perception of what someone going on Love Island would be like. And it's funny, again, like, that perception of that is going to be so or so different person to person, depending if they've watched the show, if they've heard of it before, like, again, but then it's like, that's not who you are. That's just, like, something you've done. Mm-hmm. So it's just like that whole interaction with, like, meeting someone, and then what the, like, label you put on them comes with it. And like you said, you didn't want to lose that, and then you became okay, and you're like, I'm fine with that. I can just be Andy. That's good. So do you remember, like, the defining factor when you went from, I like this, I want to keep it, to if it goes, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I think it was about that same time that I was making the transition from professional baseball in the U.S. to wanting to travel. I found that I got that travel bug, as people talk about, So I get that travel bug, and I was just kind of like, and it was the same time. It was like I get the travel bug, and then I start getting this feeling of like really starting to comprehend and think about how short and fleeting life is. And around that time, I think is when the whole baseball thing kind of went out the window. Then I cared more about life experience and personable, just being a personable human being rather than my career path. And that's kind of when I had a whole big kind of mindset switch, which this is, I understand that I'm different from a lot of people in this, but I'm not money driven at all. So it's not part of my personality, which is very interesting when you're trying to meet women, by the way. So, I'm not saying all women, but women do tend to like a very like successful,
But
successful
it's their version
man.
of success.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so I've had to explain this on many a first date that I'm just like, I'm not a money driven person. I'm an experience and like love driven person. Right. And, I think that is where I was okay with losing this label of being a professional baseball player. Cause I'm just like, you never know when somebody's going to go and you never know how it's going to happen or what's going to happen. So it's like, I'm going to live my life as good as I possibly can in the period that I have, not worrying too much about the future. Obviously, you're still setting small money aside and getting yourself prepared for it. But in the time being, I'm just going to live and try and be the best person that I possibly can. And, all the rest just will kind of sort itself out in a way. And so, yeah, kind of that mindset switch when I started thinking more that way was when I became okay with losing that label. So I'm just like, you know what? If I lose the label of being a professional baseball player, I'd rather have, if I were to die tomorrow, I would much rather the news say, here's Andy, he was a good friend to people, the people around him liked him, he had a nice laugh, just say nice things about who I was rather than it go, Andy, the professional baseball player on Love Island,
What does that
passed
mean?
away yesterday. Because then it's like everyone's going to go, oh, that guy died. Whereas like, you want to, I want to be a better person. I want to be a good person. That's how I want to be remembered rather than as a baseball player.
Yeah.
Because who gives a shit in the end of it? You know what I mean? If my baseball career ends now and I'm 30 and if I live to 80, that means I have 50 years of not playing baseball ahead of me. So it's like, why does that little bit of professional baseball player define me for forever? Or a 3-week period I spent in a villa in Spain on a TV show, like that doesn't need to define me. I want people to, you want people to remember you as being a genuine human being with like interest in others. And I think that's when I started to think that way is when I made that switch of like, who cares,
I fucking love that, man. That's
Yeah.
so sick. That's such a better thing. Like I said, when you get introduced to someone, it's like how you want to be remembered. And that's normally a question I ask at the end. It's like how you want to be remembered as a person.
Mm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's like a kind, giving, caring person that was there for other people.
And that's exactly, that's the goal.
And it's not that hard.
No,
it's not
really
that hard. Like,
it's not that you're exactly right. It's not a difficult thing to just be caring towards others. But you find a lot of people that don't. And that's the thing is, like you're saying, you could ask that question to a lot of people. How do you want to be remembered? And a lot of people, and it's not a bad thing, but a lot of people talk about like, oh, I want to leave a legacy. I want this. I want to create this business and I want to pass it down and I want this to be, I want to be remembered for a plaque on a wall or something like that. And that's great. Like some people, like if that's really what your purpose is in life, that's what you feel like your meaning in life is, great, and excel at it. And that's where I think I like I said, like I differ from others where it's, I don't, even if I, just made it by on enough money barely for the rest of my life, and lived almost paycheck to paycheck, but, found a partner that I really enjoy and raised kids and lived life successfully that way, like that's how and why I want to be remembered. You know, rather than having a bunch of excess money. Obviously, my kids might not be happy if I leave them a couple nickels, you know, and a pair of shoes, but anyways.
Probably grow up better.
Yeah, honestly.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, man, it's like, I want to be remembered through the people that I've met and helped and touched in some way. Because it's like, I don't want people to generally just remember me, but see someone that I've helped in some way and almost look at them like, oh, yeah, he's kind of like that because of what Dean did or what Andy said or how Andy showed up. Like, it's like mimicking a trait that you do or saying something and helping them like open up an idea in their mind that's like, oh, that's a different way to look at it. Because it's funny now, like I helped this young kid with his racing career, and he just signed to like one of the best teams in the entire world.
That's awesome.
And I'm so excited to watch him and know that like I had some part to play in that. So like that's how I want to be remembered. It's like, oh, Dean helped this person that then helped that person. And it's like that flow-on effect of helping people that like that's how you want to be remembered. It's like carrying, it's like not your legacy, but just like I guess some of your wisdom or some of your like knowledge that you pass on that then someone else passes on and just keeps going and going. Because you see that and it's like, yeah, you kind of continue on. If you can, I guess, open up ideas that help other people to then help other people. And it's like that flow-on effect and fulfillment in doing that. And again, like it's not that hard. It's just like little things each day. It's like if you've got someone that you generally care about, it's like, all right, well, how can we make their life better? And that might be something so small and minute, but it's like you said, like a laugh. Like you catch up with them and have a laugh. Like their life's a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And then they might show up better to someone else because you've helped like spark that different way of like thinking or seeing something, and you go, oh, okay. And then that passes on. So a bit of a, yeah. I'm like, as I was saying that, like I've never thought about it like that as I'm saying it. So I'm like kind of thinking as I'm saying, but yeah, I think remembered in others for what you've done, I think is probably the best.
I don't think I've ever thought about that either. But no, that's a great way. It's a great way of thinking about it because, yeah, that's legacy in a different way.
Yeah, legacy, it's not legacy like, oh, he did this. It's like, no, he just, something he did flowed into someone else and then they're using it. So you're remembering the new person or you're looking at the new person, and it's not even, like it's like doing stuff and not needing to get credit for it or need to be like told you've done this. It's just in yourself. You kind of just, you know, that like something you did helped. Because that's the tricky thing. It's like so many people want to do something for the recognition that they've done that thing, where it's like do something just because it feels good for you, not because it's going to be perceived well by others. And I think that's a tricky thing to do sometimes. Like you always, and it can be a net positive as well because you are like showing that helping someone is good could make someone else want to. But I think it's just that thing. It's like doing something when no one else is watching just for you. And I think that's when you really, figure out what do I want? It's like if no one can see this, just me, what do I want out of this? And I think it's trying to have more, like mix it up, do both. But I think, more things where you're just like, this is just for me. Mm-hmm. Like it's like protecting some of the things you do. Because when you do stuff and it feels really good, but then someone else sees it and go, oh, he only did it because of this or because of that. Then it comes back to that whole other people's perception is attacking your gesture or your kind thing. Yeah. So it's like if you've got something that you want to do and help someone or help a thing or just make yourself feel better, it's like, protect that and don't just, some stuff doesn't need to go out there. Because do you find, especially, I guess, in the dating scene, when you start to see someone and then you bring it up to your friends, no matter their reaction or how they take it, the perception you have of that person is going to slightly alter in some way by how your friends, like, they could see her and say, oh, she's gorgeous, she's stunning, and she's all these things. And like, you already felt that, but you're like, oh, maybe you feel it a little bit more, or you think about it a little bit more. Or you go, oh, she's a surfer chick, she's probably real chilled out and all this stuff. And maybe you thought she was a bit more tense, but now that your friends have, you know what I mean? It's like how other people perceive someone that you're seeing will kind of alter how you see it. And that's why I think like when you first start seeing someone, you almost don't say anything because it's like you want to grow that and protect that. Have you felt when you've seen someone that's been the case?
Yeah, but honestly, well, actually I could say, I mean, in different cases it's been different. I think that was when you mentioned that, that was actually a big. When I first met my girlfriend now, her name's Gabby. When I first met her, we like clicked instantly, and it was really good, really fast, and that was great. And it was kind of one of those things where like it was moving really quick, and I was like, wow, this is weird. These are a lot of feelings really fast. Which was because I had been, single and dating for a couple years, and then I met her, and yeah, everything was moving fast, and it was so good. And then I remember get fucking corny here for a second, but it was the night that I told her that I ended up telling her I loved her. It was after she met all my friends for the first time, and she met, and we were all just hanging out, and she was talking to people, didn't have to be by my side, was out chatting to everybody, and then she was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I was, walked off to the bathroom, and I just turned around to like look at my friends, and they were all like, dude, she's awesome. And I was like, I think I just like lit up right away, and I was like, okay, because just that added like validity to it, it was like, okay, I'm not going crazy for thinking this is the coolest girl I've ever met. Like maybe other people think the same thing, so now this is real. And the same thing, like my mom happened to fly out here, and I had only been seeing Gabby for 2 weeks, and my mom flew out here, and I was like, hey, do you want to come get lunch with my mom? And then she was like, sure. So she came, we got lunch, and then she drove off, and I got in the car with my mom because I was hanging out with her. When I got in the car, my mom was like, I get it. I see why you like her. Like, this makes sense. I see what you're... And yeah, those kind of outside factors, they absolutely... What people say makes you perceive them in a different way, but I think that can be, a positive.
Oh, for sure. It can go both ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, when I started seeing all of these people have so many good things to say about her, I was like, yeah, all that feeling inside me was validated. And then, she tells me about all these different friends she has back home, and I can see it in messages she gets on her phone, just of like how many people are just checking in, hey, how are you, miss you so much. And it's just like, like you see all this love that she's created. And again, this goes back to what we were just talking about. She's been a very successful dancer and stuff like that, but no one ever messages her and says, oh, miss the way you dance. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the messages she's getting. She's getting all these messages saying, like, miss you, miss your smile, like, miss hanging out with you. And yeah, all of that kind of stirs up into a big bowl of, this person really is amazing. And she's she's an amazing person. And I had these feelings, and now it's validated by all these other people talking about the same thing. But yeah, so that those other people's perceptions are well,
like you said, after she met everyone, you told her you loved her. Mm-hmm. But it's almost you needed like not the tick of approval, but like you're like I'm pretty sure I do, and then you've people saying nah, like yes, you do, kind of thing, and you're like,
no, that's it.
And then it comes back to like the whole belief thing. It's like you believe it, and then other people see it and help confirm that fact. It's like they believe in it. You're like, okay, this can happen. Yeah. It's like bridging that gap. It's bridging the gap there. It comes back to the whole belief system behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Hey, and like obviously meeting your mum, like that dynamic is like the first woman you've ever loved, and then like the next woman that you hope to obviously create a life with or love, and it's like, if your mum doesn't like your girlfriend, it's probably not going to work out.
No, especially, and like I'm very lucky enough to have a good relationship with my mom and both my parents. But without a doubt, if you have a good relationship with your parents and they don't like your partner, I just don't think I could. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Whereas, I mean, obviously, it's some people have unfortunate bad relationships with their parents, and that's a little bit different. Maybe they're not good people, and she's a really good person. Yeah. But yeah, if like I have a great relationship with my mom, I know my mom's a very good woman. Yeah. And it's like, if she didn't like my girlfriend, there's no chance. Yeah. Like I can't discard my mom for a girl. I can't. I wouldn't.
Yeah, because they're gonna give it to you straight.
Yeah.
They're gonna give it to you. So this is it, or this isn't it.
Absolutely.
It was funny. because I'm from Victoria originally, so I was flying back to just go home for a little bit. I was going to see a few of my family members, and the girl I was dating at the time, we've broken up now, but she was coming down, and I thought she might meet like maybe my mum, maybe my dad. Like hadn't really organised anything, but if things aligned, we'd do it. Anyway, we go up to the sunny coast to fly down. While I'm waiting in line, I see my cousin and her partner and her 2 kids. So just randomly, it's like, oh, this is my cousin, like blah, blah, blah. She meets them, all good. And then when we landed, my uncle was there to pick them up. So then she met my uncle. And then I was like, oh, I've got a cat that lives with my grandma. So I was like, I got to get my cat to hang out for the week. So we went up there and I was like, well, now you've met my grandparents. And then my dad just randomly rocked up while I was there. So then she met my dad, and then my brother was with my dad as well. So it's like from no family members to like cousins, uncles, grandparents, brother, dad.
Jeez.
Cat.
That's hectic.
Oh, that's a lot, hey.
Yeah.
That was within like, literally never met any of them within like an hour or 2 hours, like the whole family. Like went from no one to like Christmas. And it was like, I'm said to him, but the great thing was when you're so proud of who someone is and you see that you're like, you're going to be fine because I know who you are. Like I see you. And I didn't intentionally mean to put her in that situation, but I'm like, I know you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to be a great person because you are a great person, and you're just going to show up like that with my family or anyone. So I like wasn't worried about that at all, but it was just funny the situation that it all unfolded the way it did, and I was like,
that's hilarious.
That's a lot to a lot to deal with. But she did great. Like she did really good just because of she's just generally like you meet kind, interesting people, and they can talk or be around anyone. And I guess that's what you see in Gabby when it's like come meet my mum. Like you wouldn't say that if you were worried about how she was going to show up with your mum. Exactly. I think that's a good lesson. If you're worried about your partner meeting your family, probably look more at your partner, not more at how your family's going to react to your partner.
That's a great, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be an uncomfortable feeling if you're saying like, I don't know if I want them to meet her. Whereas, and what's funny is thinking about it is I've actually, I've spoken to, talked or dated people that I've been like, would I want them to meet my family, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, like you're saying, when you're confident about this person being just a genuinely good person, that was like, again, I was like 10, 12 days into seeing this girl, and I was like, I want you to meet my mom. Yeah. And, I was confident that it was going to go great, and it was. Like, because, exactly.
You know both of them on such a deep level. You're like, there's no way this won't be good.
Yeah. Just genuine human beings.
Yeah.
That's why you keep good people in your life. You find good people, you keep them in your life however you can.
I've got it's probably a bit of a heavy question, but I thought about this in relationships, but just say Gabby accidentally got pregnant and she's like, I'm keeping it 100%. Would you feel like, obviously there would be some feeling of like, oh, wasn't expected, but would you be completely okay with that?
Yes.
And I think that's when
I think that's a great question. What have we been together? 5, coming up on 5 months. And this is the first time where, like we have things that we want to go do. We're going to go travel in Asia, and we have things. So like, obviously this isn't the time necessarily that we are looking to have a kid.
You're not aiming for it, but if it just happened out of the blue and for whatever reason, she was like, I think this is the right time. It's like, if you say, that's fine, okay, let's do this, that is probably the person you should be with.
And I wouldn't think twice.
Yeah.
I would just go, well, shit, I guess our plans changed a bit.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's go do this together. You know what I mean? That's a really good tell, though. And I bet, I bet that's even heavier on the other side. Or if you were a girl listening to this and asking the same question, I bet that would be even a more important question for a girl to ask about a guy, because it's like we're obviously guys, we're not having the kid ourselves. Yeah. But if a girl is saying like, I want to have a kid with this person, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That would be...
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to ask, though.
Absolutely.
If you start to get to that point where you're seeing someone and it gets a little bit like, the stages it goes through, you're like a bit more serious, and you are even dating, like you have the label on it, you kind of go, yeah, if I got pregnant right now, would I want to keep it and continue this? But the thing is as well, it's like even if, just say the girl got pregnant, she's like, I would have this baby with you, and like it'd be 100%. Like you say, whether she does or not, it just kind of depends on the moment. Because it's not saying that if you said yes, I would have the kid, that doesn't mean you have to at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you obviously have that decision to do whatever you feel is best for you. But yeah, it's just that the kind of, I just put myself in that mindset because I dated girls and I was together with them, and I'm a lot younger at this point. This is like 22 kind of years old, and I thought about it and I was like, yeah, if they had gotten pregnant, this is looking back, I would have probably freaked out. I know obviously the age has a point to play, but I think when I was with someone and I think she like missed her period or something, and I kind of had that thought like, oh, she might be pregnant, and I thought about if she was, I was like, we'll make it work. It's all good. Like, I don't want to do it right now. I've got a lot more of life. I want to go live in other ways, like traveling and whatnot. But if I got a kid coming, then I got a kid coming kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you just like make it work as you go. So yeah, I think that's such a good question to ask yourself before like getting maybe further on in the relationship.
You know what was another great question I saw on that just reminded me of that I saw about relationships was it was like questions to ask yourself if you're trying to figure out. It just came out. It might have been on TikTok or something like that, which obviously there's a lot of bullshit on there. But this was a great question, and I love it. And it was, if somebody told you that you reminded them of your partner, would you feel good about it or not good about it? That's a great tell as well. I really like that question because I was just like, I thought immediately about Gabby. Obviously, we were dating. I was like, if somebody told me that, like, I reminded them of her, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be like, she's such a good person. If I can exude some of her characteristics, I'm doing something right. You know what I mean? And I remember reading some of the comments on it, and there's a lot of people that don't feel the same way. Like, and then that's got to be a very, very telling thing. And I think back to some people that I've dated in the past. Everyone, they're all champions. They're all good people. But yeah, there's certain people that I've, talked to or dated or whatever it was that it was not like that. Like if somebody told me, if there was someone who's like, oh, you guys are kind of similar. Like you guys have similar personalities. I'd be like,
yeah.
I don't know. So that was another great question that I read about relationships.
That's really just answering. It just answers that question. Yeah. If you don't, because again, you want to be a reflection of who you're seeing. Mm-hmm. Like you want to see you're good in them and they're good in you.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't see that and you see these things that annoy you or piss you off and you go, probably get out of that.
Right.
Like probably go the other way.
There's so many. I think it took me in a very healthy, loving, in the type of relationship I am now. It took me to get there to see how many unhealthy relationships there are.
Yeah.
Between friends, just, coworkers, people I know, like, and it's not to say at all that we have a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
But I think you get to a certain point. It's like, I'm very confident that she's the person for me in this life.
Mm.
And because I haven't felt like this before, I didn't really realize it. But now that I have that and I feel that, it's not to say that I'm judging other people's relationships because that's very disrespectful and unwarranted. But you can see what unhealthy relationships look like.
Yeah.
You hear your friends talk about their, say, negative things about their partner, not like hugely negative, but just kind of like talking trash behind their back. And it's just like, there must be something off. Like there's like, that's, so now I'm in my, I joke around, I'm in my era of telling all my friends to break up with their girlfriend.
Because it's not, they're not happy.
Literally.
How good is it though when you see a couple that's like they are properly in love with each other, and it's just so like it's just pure. It's like that is amazing, and then you see that and you realize what level is out there that you can experience, and you see something that's not that, and you're like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
It's like you're just doing it because you've gotten comfortable to a point where you know you got to go through discomfort and be alone for some amount of time.
Yeah.
To then do the work you probably need to do on yourself to see those things in other people that then you can carry on to your next relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like every single person you meet teaches you something, big or small. And obviously in a relationship, you get taught so much because you're around those people 24/7, and they are a direct mirror of everything you do. And it's not until we break up sometimes that then you like, all of it comes out, like you say, and like that's the stuff you probably should really listen to, because that's like, you know, the whole like keep your friends close, your enemies closer. And I guess you look at an ex-girlfriend and somewhat can be an enemy because they're throwing all this different shit at you, but it's like some of that probably could land. Like some of that probably could be something you could work on if you actually listened and went, because again, it gets to that point when you're not together. Like it was really random, but I was like walking on the beach in Palmy and stopped at like a coffee shop. And then I was just there watching the sunrise, and my ex was just popped in as well. I hadn't been there in months, and she hadn't either. It was just random. We both went on the same day, and she sat down next to me. We talked for like 3 hours, and we were already like at a good point. Like there was no anger or hate or anything, but we hadn't like had a chat like this, I guess, in a while. And it was nice to talk to someone that you know had loved you and had cared for you, and it hadn't worked out, but you can be completely fine and completely happy with that person still. And then you can actually talk through all the stuff that I did this and you did that and I did that because of this, but then I reacted because of that, without any like judgment or anger or hard feelings, but just more or less putting on the table and going, this is why this whole thing happened, and learn from that going into the next relationship you go into, because it's like, that's what, like each person's a lesson. It's like, you're going to actually take notes and study that lesson, or are you just going to go, oh, that was that person's fault, next person, not doing any of the work, carrying the same bullshit, doing the same shit over again, going on to the next person. And you can do that for so long, because it's like you just get, again, attracted to that feeling of like little dopamine hit. This person likes me, this person likes hanging out with me, and then you get to the point where it's like stuff starts going wrong, and then you go next person. And it's so easy just to like leapfrog through different people, hurting people along the way, because you haven't actually dealt with your own emotional state when you get into that point of like love or affection or care. And then people just end up getting hurt all the time because it gets there and it's like, oh, get out, and then go to the next person and then kind of damage them in a way.
Yeah.
But it's like you say, like with all these friends that have bad relationships, it's like maybe you do need to get out. And when you do get out, don't look at it being bad on just one person's side, but look at it as like, we both did this. I don't want to do that again, and then learn from that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm all for it, man. When I see people, especially going through a relationship that looks similar to yours, or did look similar to mine, kind of thing, and you go, you kind of need to go through it and feel it, but man, like, get out. Like, get out while it's still at a point where you guys don't hate each other. It's not toxic. It's not bad. Just get out.
Yeah.
Because it's going to, eventually that's going to come. And it's like, I always look back, and it's funny when you have like a bit of heartache and you hold on to something and you keep going back and it feels nice, but you know, you're like, man, this is going to blow up at some point. It's like you're holding a bomb and you're just watching the wick go like closer and closer down. You're like, I should probably throw this, but it's kind of warm on my hands. It's like, it's cold, it feels nice. And then it just goes bang and you're like, fuck, that happened. Like, I think that's the worst thing, when you know you're doing something that's wrong and your friends are also being like, this is wrong. It's like I know when I've been in a bad relationship, I stopped telling people about it because I knew it was bad. It was like, someone's like, you shouldn't see her. I'm like, I know. I agree with you 100%. And then you go see her. And it's that point when you get to there, because you're like going against your own beliefs or values or whatever. I'm like, fuck, that's when you start to spiral down.
Yeah.
And if you've obviously said you've had people that you've dated that, not bad people or anything, but it just wasn't it. Did you feel like you had times when you just keep going back because it's just a nice feeling and comfort?
I think it was comfort. Both the relationships, I was in 2 long-term relationships. So I've been in 2 separate 5-year relationships. I think when I got...
So what was that from the age of?
Dated a girl from 15 to 20. And then 2 months later, started dating another girl. Told her I didn't want to be in a relationship. Ended up getting in a relationship. Dated her from 20 to 25.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I was 25 and had dated 2 people, really.
That is insane.
Yeah. It was wild.
How was like the temptation through those years of like, there's other girls out there kind of thing? Or just didn't feel it? You just
no, I felt it. No. I felt it. I don't, sometimes I look back and I'm curious on how I made it through. Like I went through college as a, high level collegiate athlete and like, and just ignoring other women, and same thing as all of a sudden I signed a professional baseball contract and I'm living in these different places.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been real hard for you to get attention from girls.
It's impossible.
And then especially you being like, I've got a girlfriend. Like, the ultimate draw card.
I know.
I'm not available.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, tell me more.
Oh, man.
So bad.
No, it was good. I mean, I still went out and, would talk to girls, but just not flirt, I guess, And but sometimes I look back and it was like, I wonder, I stayed in both relationships a lot longer. I made the same mistake twice, and I know that now. Stayed in the relationships longer than I knew that I should have. And I think it went back to where it was a comfort thing, where, the first girl I did, obviously, it was my first love, and started when we were 15, and then...
It's hard to let go, hey?
Yeah, and I think what that actually stemmed back on was it was partly like, I don't want to lose this person. Part of it was selfishness. I knew that I didn't necessarily want that person, but I didn't want to lose them. And so I think, in a way, I wasted some of their time as well.
Yeah.
Because it got to a certain point where, and not just like a month. Like, I think the first girl I broke up with maybe a year and a half before we ended up finally actually breaking up with. We broke up like 3 or 4 times, and then, she would say, I want you back, and I'd be like, okay, because it like, it feels good and it's comfortable. And even though I knew it wasn't like, I was like, what am I, and then I'd be like, I'd get to a point where I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And then I'd be, I'd break up with her again. It kept going back and forth, and it was like this same cycle. And that was something that I didn't really realize. Well, I think what I did, I knew that I was wasting my time because I was young and I was thinking selfishly. And then went into my second relationship and everything was good for years, and then kind of got towards the end. And then that's when I really started getting towards, I wanted to travel and I wanted to go experience these things, when my mindset kind of switched. And then, it was maybe a year-ish before we finally actually broke up that I started kind of feeling like, I knew it was a problem. I was like 24. We'd been dating for 4 years. I knew it was a problem when I was daily asking myself, like, could I see a future with this person? And it's like, if I'm asking myself, it's probably not. Yeah. It's probably not the one. You know what I mean?
Because you feel it now,
Now I know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a could I see with my person. It's like, could I not see? Like, what, like,
what's the wedding dress going to look like?
Exactly. There's so, like, now it's like, what is a wedding dress? Where are we getting married? What are the kids going to look like? Shit like that,
It's a good feeling, man.
It is. It's a great feeling. But yeah, I think that I didn't realize it then, and I realize it now, like you were saying earlier about, you can take some of these negatives from these other relationships and everything's a lesson. And I realized that some of that time, I always, you look back on it, you're like, yeah, maybe I wasted some time where I could have gone out and been single and done a bunch of other cool, fun things. But I think I feel more bad because now I can look back and be like, I wasted their time.
Yeah.
I wasted, my ex we're about the same age. So it was like, in that last year, I wasted her age 24 to 25 of her trying as hard as she could in a relationship while I was halfway out. Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, where I feel a bit guilty. And the relationship ended in, she did some things that I don't, or not many people would necessarily condone, but nonetheless, I can still take a lot of responsibility because, she may have gone and done some shady things at the end. And
like you said, you were checked out, though.
I was checked out. And so, and I think that's what, when people people I tell about, like what happened in the end of a relationship and stuff like that, and everyone's like, oh, like fuck her, and I can't believe she did that, blah, blah, blah. And there's, absolutely some of that. But at the same time, I don't have nearly as much animosity toward, I mean, now I'm over it. Like, this is years ago, so I'm over it now. But at the time, I didn't have nearly as much animosity towards her as other people even did, because I knew where I was at mentally well before that. Yeah. And so it was kind of like, that growing up and taking accountability for the fact that I was like, you know what? She may have done some things, but I definitely may have put her in that position.
Yeah, you kind of created it.
Yeah, and she, being a normal, intelligent human being, could probably sense that, and was fighting and trying to grasp at something that wasn't there. And then, you start looking towards other routes and
you even
other
talked,
avenues.
You talked even then when you were saying that, it's like, I didn't want her, but I didn't want anyone else to have her. And that is such a common thing. That's like little boy shit, but so many of us are little boys in that situation where it's like, I don't want to play with this toy anymore, but no other kids can play with this toy. Like, and I'm not trying to call girls toys, but like as a kid, like, it's just how you are. You're in primary school or whatever, or you're in kindergarten, you're playing with something and you enjoy it, and then you put it down, and then someone else starts playing with it, and suddenly you want it, that thing is like, because you haven't learnt to you haven't learnt to regulate your emotions to just be reactive, and that comes back to, I think, being selfish, because it's like your feelings suddenly trump their feelings. So it's like, you don't want me, I'm going to go be happy with someone else. They go start being happy, and then it's like, well, my feelings are hurt now because I want to be happy. But it's like, and it's that initial reaction that I think you got to catch yourself, and I guess like be self-aware enough to go, I don't actually want that person when I can have them. Now I shouldn't still want them.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do, and it's hard to remove yourself and be a bit more selfless in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's just maturity and like growing up and really realizing and self-reflecting, and that idea that like that women, somebody that you're seeing, whether it be a man or a woman, they're not yours. Like, you might say they're, like, oh, you're mine, like I'm yours, blah, 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 but they're not yours. And then like you get that feeling, and maybe it took me longer than it should have when I finally realized that, like, like this human being isn't just mine to play with their emotions and do this, you know what I mean? And not to say I was, leading people on or do anything bad, but it's just like, when I finally ended up breaking up with her, I didn't want to necessarily, because again, I didn't want to let something go. Like, I didn't want to let her go, even though I knew it was right. And then finally, I don't know what it was, but something finally hit me where I was like, Andy, you're being an asshole because you're taking her time away. And it's like, you're playing with her emotions right now because you don't want to let her go. And it's like, what am I doing to this person? This is a real person with real feelings and a real future, and she deserves to have this time. And it just took like, I got older and smarter and thought about things in a different way. And then you start to really think about, like, this person's feelings and emotions are just as important as mine are. And yes, that's a very normal idea that everyone has in their head. But when you have all these emotions caught up, sometimes you don't want to let that be the truth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I get you. And then, like you said, you need to be the one to walk away. Mm-hmm. Because I had a girl that, like, was really into me, and she's a gorgeous girl. We have hooked up a few times, and then I realized that, okay, you're more invested in this than I am. And I knew you could kind of like keep going down that road of like see him now and again and do all that. But I'm like, I know you have like feelings in this. And I was like, I can't, like, I don't. And I'm not just going to keep leading you on and getting that little bit of satisfaction every time we do. Because it's not like it was bad, but I'm like, I don't feel the same way. So it's like, if you don't feel the same way, like you said, you're just wasting someone else's time. And then it's funny when it's like roles reversed and you like someone a lot, but you kind of tell they're not really as invested. Mm-hmm. And you almost be like, why don't you just walk away? Like, what's the draw card kind of thing? And I guess there's always a few different draw cards, but it's like you get to that point where you're like, where's, like, and it sounds funny, but like, where's this going kind of thing? And you get to that point, and then it's, I guess as you get older as well, it kind of goes, where are we going? But yeah, it's being self-aware of that, of enough to go, okay, I'm going this way, you're going that way, that's fine, kind of, but see ya, like, have fun kind of thing, good luck. But
I think it takes us all time to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, I couldn't have, that's why I didn't pull the trigger on some of those earlier relationships earlier, just because I was immature and didn't think about it that way, you know? But you live and you learn.
How was it when you first came to Australia? Because there's this big thing where people get scared to go outside of their comfort zone, their town, their friendship group, all of those things, because no matter what, there is a period of time between when you leave your safety to when you go to a place and create like a new safety net of friends, job, hobbies, all that kind of stuff. So what was it like when you first got here, being completely, did you know anyone here? Did you kind of fall into a job? Like, how did it all go when you first got here?
Yeah, so I think I've been lucky in where when I've traveled and gone and lived in these new places, I've done it all with a baseball team. So luckier than most people that make a big move. Like, I have some built-in friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that definitely makes things easier. And I'd met this girl when I was traveling in Europe, and we got along really well, and she lived out here on the Goldie. And so when I came, you know, she showed me introduced me to some of her friends, and we hung out a bunch, and it was great. So
was that part of the reason you came here?
It wasn't. I had met her, you know, traveling Europe, and she was great, and we got along really well. And then I had been wanting to come here, like I said, for like 2 years during COVID.
Yeah, so you're already planning it.
So I was already kind of planning it. But yeah, it was kind of perfect. When I met her, I was like, so where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from the Gold Coast. I was like, I'm actually moving there in a couple of months.
What's your address?
Yeah.
I'm right next door.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
And so I came out here. She introduced me to some friends, and I had bartended a bit before, and we went into the Pav for lunch one day, and I was just like sitting there, and obviously we know the Pav, like the view is incredible. I was just sitting there looking at the view, and I was like, I could work here. And then I was like, give me a minute. And I just, within 30 seconds of saying I could work here, I just stood up and walked up to the guy who looked like a manager, and I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? And then he was like, well, what do you do? I was like, I've bartended for a couple of years. He goes, so you have bartending experience? I was like, yeah, a lot of it. He goes, all right, we'll run you through a trial tomorrow. And I remember it was hilarious. I walk in and they give me about a 7-minute rundown of like where the things are. Like, here's the blah, blah, blah. Are you good, brother?
Yeah, no, but I'm just going to go till 12. No worries. Yeah. See you, man.
But yeah, they gave me like a 7-minute rundown on like where the things were. And the thing about the Pav, as you know, I don't know who's listening out there, but it's a lot of young people that are working at the Pav that have never worked in a bar before. And so
it churns through people quickly.
Fucking hell, yeah, it does. We get so much turnover, it's unbelievable, man. But yeah, they gave me a quick rundown, and then they're like, all right, do you want to start serving customers? And I was like, all right. Like, and then within 10 minutes of my first trial shift, I was just taking orders and making drinks because I knew how to do it. Yeah. So yeah, as much as I wish I could drop this whole big story on like, oh, it was so difficult, I had to branch out and make all these friends.
Just in it.
I fell into it right away. And then, once I'm working at the Pav, I make friends at the Pav.
So easy, yeah.
And then obviously meeting women at the Pav is, not easy.
How many numbers did you get? Can you?
Too many, dude.
Oh, bro, it's such the pavilion is like, I've never been anywhere else in the world like the Burleigh Pavilion. It is like a jungle. It feels like a jungle. When you go in there and it's like a hectic, busy night of, yeah, I couldn't even imagine, because you would see everything realistically. Obviously, it's get hectic at times, but you're like sober and you're looking at everything that's going down.
Oh, man.
You would know.
I've seen it all, brother. The Burley Pav. It's a wild place, also known as my second home. God, I've spent some time in there.
Dude, I'd love to do like a David Attenborough styled like documentary
Oh my!
on the Burley Pavilion. Like go in there and just like obviously put the accent on and just talk about each little thing that goes on in there. It's a little ecosystem of people and influencers and DJs. And
it'd be too good, man.
Go interview Andy.
Yeah, that place is hilarious, man. It's tough to describe to people who haven't been. It's because it's just like,
it's such a good mixing pot though. Like such a good mixing pot because when I first came up here, I didn't know heaps of people. Like I knew a few. I just go to the Burley Pav by myself, and it's such an easy way to meet people. Like everyone's so friendly, and just the vibe of how it works, you just kind of bump in to anyone. And I've made so many friends just from going out alone. Do you find this? I was thinking about this the other day. Do you find it like if you go out in Europe or something, like you're fine to go out on your own because you don't really know anyone, but then you go somewhere and you don't know anyone, you go out on your own, then you start to meet people. And then you suddenly don't go out on your own because you've got friends to go out with. Do you find that's a funny thing that happens, how you get comfortable somewhere and then like, I just don't go out alone because I'm always like, oh, do you want to go do something?
Yeah.
But it's so good to go out alone because you're more open to actually meeting new people again. You know what I mean?
I think that's definitely something I could be better at. I think you're just, you get comfortable. You get comfortable in like going out and having somebody to be a buffer.
Yeah.
You don't go out alone. Like, fuck, I don't even know the last time I went out alone. I did it in Europe again a couple of times.
Because you're kind of by yourself there, yeah.
Exactly. But no, I don't. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like every time I have gone out alone, and I'm not going to say I've done it a bunch, you end up meeting people and then you're friends. Yeah. Like you just like, you go out, you meet people, you have a chat, you have a couple of beers, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know this person from here, and then you meet up again, and then all of a sudden you got a friendship. No, it's good. I really just don't do it very often.
Yeah. Just putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because how often though do you go out somewhere with a group of friends and you'll be with them and then you'll go and you'll meet someone new anyway? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just having that like safety net of like, I've got like a circle that I can go stand with and chat with for a while. But you break away from it within the first 10 minutes and go and meet someone else anyway. Yeah. But it's like just that safety net knowing. Because I found that when I'd go there, like I'd meet people, chat with them, and then obviously the conversation would kind of draw out and you go, all right, see ya, and then you just go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Where it's like you don't have a base to kind of come back to or like a group to come back to. So you've kind of got to have that point. That comes back to that point of like caring what other people think and being by yourself for a small amount of time. Yeah. But I guess people have that thought, not in like a bar setting, but or like a date, whatever it may be kind of setting going out, but just in general, like moving somewhere. And they come back to like moving to the Gold Coast. Like you said, you kind of have built-in friends, which makes it easier. But like so many people out there wouldn't have any friends, anyone there. And you go, all right, let's go and see how this works out. Mm-hmm. And it's like that fear of being alone for a brief amount of time is enough to put people off from doing it. Yeah. They're not comfortable. But like the whole idea of like the unknown is so exciting because it is the unknown. Yeah. It's like, imagine if you knew exactly how your life played out from now to when it ended. How boring would that be?
Shit.
It'd be so shit.
You the thing is like, yeah, you could say like, oh, it'd be nice to know these certain things so that I could have some comfort, but no, you'd be bored. You just, you wouldn't want to.
Whoever enjoys watching a movie the same excitement watching a movie the second time? Never. You get happy because you know a good bit's coming, but it doesn't feel the same as when it first happens.
No, there'd be no rush. There'd be no rush. There'd be no chase, which I think is what everybody really craves in life. It's like, and it doesn't matter if it's for a woman or a man or a career or whatever it is, like that feeling of like wanting something,
it's trying to achieve the impossible goal
for it and then getting it. Like I think that's, talk about the purpose of life. If you're not chasing something, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, like I said, then it's like trying to complete the impossible goal. Because you don't, like, you do care about the goal, but it's like who you become trying to obtain the goal. Yeah, that's the point. It's like, okay, I tried this, I failed. I tried this, I failed. I tried this, I got better, I got good. In doing that, you need to figure out how to get better, how to work on yourself, how to do all those things. And it's so like, all this stuff's so cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. It's like, you need to fail. You need to put yourself out there. You need to learn from those failures, and then you just show up again. And it's like you just keep showing up, and then eventually you get it, and then you go, okay, this was cool, and then you do something else. And then, like, that's pretty much the point of it all. Like,
what else is there?
what else are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, it's like, where do you see your, like, perfect life, kind of?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that? And then it's just, like, trying to create things around that and be okay, like you said, with, like, how you pivoted. It's like you got to this point where you're like, this isn't for me. And even though people see me as this, because I'm sure you would have felt when you started doing or not taking it as serious as you were, people were probably just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And then that's when you have to have that real, like, self-reflection of like, okay, why am I doing this? And know that why, and not have other people's opinion affect that. How was it dealing with that when people came out? Because no matter what you want to say, like, you're going to feel it in some way.
Yeah. Definitely interesting. I mean, like, when I told people that I was going to play baseball in Europe for the first time, so many heads are like, what? What do you like? What do you mean?
What do you mean smoking, man?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, people who don't play baseball in Europe. And I was like, I swear they do. I didn't even know they did, but they do. So yeah, there was that initial, what the hell are you talking about, from 95% of the people that I told, that I was going to go do it. And, you get some people that are saying, no, don't go do that. Just stay here. Like, keep fighting in this career that you have. You could, maybe you could make it. And I mean, it was good to hear some people's opinions. Some people had valid things to say, but I think just, that confidence, and like I said, I had that, mindset switch of this is what I want to do. This is what I want to experience. I know that life's short, and I want to go do this. And I've had I say the same thing hundreds and hundreds of times to people over the last couple of years, where I just go, here's the thing, is my biggest fear is that if I were to, let's say I die tomorrow or next week or something like that, I think the worst thing someone could say about me would be, oh, he never really did anything. You know what I mean? Like, I would hate that. Like, I hate when, and that's why, like, I try and push people to do things. I just believe in doing a whole bunch of things in your 20s or early 30s. Like, do it while you're young. Because I'm like, everyone wants to build all this, building block and push themselves to have these successes and these stories later in their life. And I'm like, who says you're getting there? And so once I got to that point where I was like, dude, I don't know how long I'm going to last on the planet. I have no idea when the end is. I'm not going to live for my future. I'm going to live now and then see what happens in my future. And so it was kind of like, once I got to that mindset of, I'm going to stuff as much cool stuff into my life as I can now and hope that I make it longer, then I was able to rationalize and hear things that people were saying, but not take them too personally. So they're like, this is what I want to do, and playing baseball in the U.S. isn't really, that's not that. And that whole reasoning was the same thing that I decided to go on Love Island too, because I was just like, dude, this is a once in a lifetime experience. Like, there's plenty of people can say negative things about it, and it's cheesy and it's corny, and you get perceived a lot from it.
How did you end up on the show? Did you apply or did they reach out?
So I had like a couple different TV shows reach out to me in the year and a half prior to it, including Love Island USA. And I did like an interview with them, and it just didn't really work out. And then I had done had a couple people reach out when I was living in London, talking about doing a dating show in the UK. And then it just, I kind of chose not to do some of those. And then I came out here, and I got out here in it was last October. And so it was like right kind of when the show was coming out, and then it was out, and I just had so many people just be like, this was, you were made for this. Like, this is you. After obviously, I'd been single for a couple years, and I I do well for myself when it comes to speaking to women. I can do that. That's one of the few talents I have on this planet. But and so it was like I just had so many people, boys, girls, friends, random people be like, you know what? Like they'd see the show and they'd be like, you should go on this. I was like, yeah, fuck it, all right. So I applied and went through the very long interview process. But so I applied all the way back in October of last year. And it was right when the show was coming out. And then I got like one email back and then didn't hear back from them. So I was like, oh, it's a wash. And then they reached back out to me in like March or April of last year. And they were like, hey, we're casting for the new season. Are you still interested? And I was like, yeah, I'll see where this goes. You know, I'm still single. Why not? And then the long interview process happened and somehow made it on Love Island Australia. I don't know how that whole deal happened, but
So Andrew, I watched the thing this morning, rocking up on the jet ski, because I've never watched an episode, man. Like, I've never watched a Love Island episode, but I seen when you got there, you just rocked off on the jet ski and went around the boat. We're definitely going to use that for the trailer. Yeah. That could be your intro thing. We'll get some music playing, just slapping waves.
Hilarious, dude.
But how was it just coming into that, like, situation? Because you came in late, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like almost exactly the halfway point.
Yeah. And you kind of, how was that like coming on to the show, and like what was that like and what did you expect?
Oh man, that whole thing was like such a fun experience. But yeah, there was times where I was shitting myself. But it was such a surreal feeling. I remember like the craziest self-realization moment was I was riding the jet ski on the way to the boat. And I was out there, and I just remember like looking around and thinking, just had that full like,
how did I get
out
here?
of body experience. I'm like, I'm on a jet ski in the Mediterranean off the coast of Majorca, and I'm rolling up to a boat. I got a boat with cameras on it here, and a boat with cameras on it here, and a yacht over there with 6 chicks on it. And I'm about to pull up, and they're going to videotape it all for a TV show.
Oh, bro.
Oh, and by the way, everyone on this show's Australian, and I just happen to be American. I was like, this is such an odd, like, how in the hell did I get here experience? But, oh, man, it was so good.
Obviously I've seen it, but I have never looked at it kind of quite from your perspective of like, what the fuck?
Well, how in the fuck did I get here, bro?
Oh man,
it was out of body for sure. And then I remember like I was out there, you know, doing all the like pre-shots where I'm like ripping around on the jet ski, and there's one of like the directors on the boat like saying, "All right, we want you to go forward, sitting down, and then stand up and then look at the camera." So I was out there for like 2 hours taking videos before I even met the girls, and like that was wild enough. But yeah, I just remember, and then like I'm hovering, you know, like maybe a kilometer away from the boat, and the girls have no idea that I was showing up. Then I remember being like, all right, brother, you're good to go. And I was just like, and I wasn't nervous yet. And then they said that, and it was like my heart sank. I was like, oh my God, I really got to go do this, bro. Oh, but it was so good. Yeah, just pull up. All these girls are screaming off me at the boat, you know, screaming at me off the boat. And I was just like,
life's not bad.
Yeah, this isn't bad. Oh, it was so good, though. It was such a fun experience.
Yeah, I can imagine just the people you'd meet. How you said then as well, like the perception they make of you, because I feel like you're not a very out there person. You're quite, and even coming off the show, like you probably haven't lent into it as much as other people kind of would have done. Do you reckon what came across on the show was like, because I actually haven't watched it, so I actually don't know how you come across, but like, do they feel like they painted a pretty good picture of who you were?
I honestly, in all fairness, I think they did overall. I think I was very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I was very focused on being myself while I was there. And I was just like, I'm just going to, you know, and that's what everyone had told me too. They were like, you know, friends, family, whatever it was. They're like, if you're you, you're going to be fine. You know what I mean? I think that's a bad rap that reality TV shows get is, now here's the thing. There's so much editing that they can paint you in a certain way. But I think another thing that does happen is that if you're a dickhead, you're just a douchebag, bad guy, and you go on one of these shows in real life, if you were to go on a date, you can hide it for 2 hours. You can hide being a dick for 2 hours, right? When you go on a TV show and you have cameras on you, cameras and microphones on you 24 hours of the day, it's going to come out. Like, you can only hide that so much. Same thing for, for women. You know, if you're just a mean girl, if you're one of those girls with attitudes and that's the type of personality you have, you can hide it for a couple hours while socializing at the bar, but you can't hide it 24 hours a day. It's going to pop out if that's who you are. And so conversely, for me, I was like, I at least like to think that I'm not a bad person, that I have good intentions. So I'm like, everyone said, if you're just you're going to be fine. So that's all I focused on was, knew that there was cameras and microphones. I was like, if I just act like myself, then they can't really paint me in a bad way.
Yeah.
They could try, but not if I don't say anything mean or do anything mean.
Yeah, it's hard
like, what are they going to do?
It's hard to pull sound bites out of stuff that's good.
Yeah.
And then try and flip that.
Exactly. So overall, I think it was pretty fair the way that they, I guess, edited my cut.
Was there anyone that didn't get?
There's some guys that are good guys that got bad cuts. Now, again, like, for example,
I love the smile there. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
For example, like, there's these two guys that were on the show this season called Zach and Trent, and they're good boys. Like, they're good guys in general. They also can be douchebags at times, which, and I've said it to their faces too. I love both of them. So they got bad cuts because they did say some dumb stuff, and then how the bad cut comes out is they cut the good stuff.
Yeah.
So then the people only see the bad stuff.
Yeah. Makes
So
good
that's
TV.
the thing. Exactly. It made good TV, and that's why they're the stars of the show.
Yeah.
Same thing with my friend Reed. Have you met Reed?
Yeah, I know Reed. Yeah.
Reedy boy. Good guy. He did some dumb stuff on the show. He got a bad cut. He got a really bad cut because they cut all the good stuff out.
Yeah.
And Reed is hilarious. Like, we all know Reed is like one of the funniest guys.
Do you reckon he looks kind of like Eric Bana? A little bit. Do you know Eric Bana?
Oh.
I said to him, like, dude, you look so much like Eric Bana. And he's like, I'll take that.
I've never thought about that.
Next time you see him, I'm going to do a comparison, I think.
No,
we'll do your sides when we get out of here. We'll do Eric Bana and Reed.
No, that's good.
Put out a vote. Put out a poll.
We'll throw some polls out there.
But yeah, he got a bad cut.
He got a real bad cut. And it was just because, again, like, he did say and do some dumb stuff, but they cut all the good stuff, which is where the difference comes. I was just like, I'm not going to do anything bad. Like, I'm just not going to be mean to anybody or say anything mean to anyone. I'll just be myself. And so it was really tough for them to make me look bad. And they tried a little bit. Like, there was some stuff, like, at the end, I know you didn't watch it, but there was, it came down to where I was with one girl, and this new girl came in, and I was going to give it a crack. But I was so open with the girl that I was with. Her name was Nakia. I was so open with her, told her every day, like, hey, listen, if somebody else comes in, like, this is still very early, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see if there's a connection. And was so open and honest with her, because I was like, I don't want anyone to think I'm leading somebody on or gaslighting. And then when the new girl came, I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to give this girl a crack. I'm going to see if we have any type of connection. They cut out all of the conversations that I had with Nakia about, like, hey, I'm going to give it a crack, and me being honest and upfront with her. They cut all that out. So, like, they made it seem a bit like I just kind of jumped from one girl to another. So that was the only thing that came out negative. But honestly, I think I've kind of stayed out of it, like you said. Like, I haven't been leaning into it too much after the show, because I just don't.
You want to define who you are.
I just don't. It was cool. Like, it was a once in a lifetime experience, and I had a blast, and that's what it will be in my eyes. I don't need it. Yeah, I don't need it to be my personality. For for me, I went on there as an experience. Obviously, I went on there. If I would have found somebody that I really liked, I would have been fine. I was ready to have a girlfriend. I didn't. And so, I came off single. But I went on there to have a once-in-a-lifetime experience and maybe find some love. Didn't find love. Had a once-in-a-lifetime experience for sure. Walked off, and I was like, that's kind of it. I'm not going to go.
Did you feel like when you were with some of the different girls, was anyone where you're like, oh, this could be, like, really could be something? Or was it all kind of like, oh, nah, probably like.
The first girl I actually liked, she was cool. Nakia was great. I found the reason why I ended up kind of cutting it off with her on the show was not because she was a bit younger, so I'm 27, she's 21. It's not the age thing that bothered me at all. Like, I don't care about age. It was just, I think that a 6-year age difference isn't too much, but it is when those are the two ages.
Yeah.
Depending on the lifestyles. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's certain stories where that could be perfectly, compatible. But for us, I did my early 20s and my mid-20s, and I had a bunch of fun, and I, went to the clubs and the festivals and drank too much and traveled. I did all that, and she just hasn't yet, and she wants to and is going to, and she should. Like, good for her. Go live your life. I just already did it. So I was like, you know what? We're just at two different stages in life. She lived in Adelaide. I was going to live here. I wasn't positive that I wanted to stay in Australia forever. I was like, maybe if I really find the right person. But it's just kind of one of those things where I was like, I don't necessarily see us being compatible outside of the villa. So, God, I sound fucking corny saying something.
No, I get what you're saying as well.
I'm like, I don't see us like legitimately having a future outside of here, even though I enjoy your vibe. And that was part of the maturity thing kind of that we were talking about earlier. It was like, she was definitely into me. And even though I was into her,
you didn't want to waste time again.
I didn't want to waste her. I didn't want to waste time, and I didn't want to waste her time. And so I was like, listen, I'm not going to lead you on in this scenario. I'm going to tell you early and upfront how I'm feeling so that you are not blindsided by any means, because I didn't want to do that. I've fucked over girls in the past, not intentionally, but just because of my inability to see that I was leading somebody into something. And I wasn't going to do it that way again. So she was cool. Like, we got along really well, but I was like, there's no future here. Yeah. And that was that. The second girl that I was with, just, we didn't click at all. Yeah.
And we only were two on the show? Or?
Yeah, because I was with one girl, the Nakia, I was with her for like, I think I was in the villa for like 13 or 14 days. I was with the Nakia for like 10, and then I was with the other girl for like 2, and then I was like with nobody for 2. I was just like, I'm fucking, and then
just hanging out.
Yeah, that was actually, now that's my favorite part about the show was that, and I know you didn't watch it.
I need to watch it now.
There's actually some good content in there. It's some funny stuff. Like, the show's good. But
I have so many friends that have gone on it,
yeah,
but I've never watched it. So, when you're like, someone's been and done something, like, I don't know you, Andy Love Island.
Yeah.
So
you just know me as Andy.
Yeah, which I think is like how you should know anyone. Right? It's like,
exactly.
Like, I didn't know about your baseball. I didn't know about the fucking Love Island thing hadn't happened yet. But you meet someone as like a genuine person, you're like, I like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, that's the one thing that I'll forever think is so funny is the way that I left the show.
Not on a jet ski.
I didn't leave on a jet ski. I should have.
That would have been the best. It's like, see you guys, just salute them and just go out to the ocean. Yeah. Put some. What song would you have? What's the song you were singing before?
Hey now, don't cheat. That would have been unbelievable.
Just going into the sunset. Oh, fuck, man. You need to apply again. Yeah. Just for that scene.
Absolutely.
They've got it all set up for you, like, no. I actually brought my own jet ski just to make sure this happens.
I told them, they made me pull up in like a swimsuit. I told them, I was like, hey, any chances you guys could sort a tuxedo out for me? I'll roll up on a jet ski in a tuxedo like I'm fucking James Bond. They didn't let me
do it.
No, it was stupid. But anyways.
Why would they want that?
That's what I said. I was like, they literally was like, we planned all this out. We had this entrance for one person. We thought we might as well give it to the American guy with a mustache. And I was like, okay, so you got the American guy. He's got a mustache. You're putting him on a jet ski. Put him in a tuxedo. Yeah. Buy a $100 tuxedo. You don't care if it gets wet.
Yeah.
Send him in. That would have been incredible.
The lamer,
TV.
the better. Like,
Yeah. Make it corny. It's
Yeah.
Love Island. It's the corniest
it's meant
shit
to
in
be.
the world.
You're on a fucking jet ski.
That's what I'm saying. Oh man. No, but it was good. But the the way I left is forever, I think, the funniest thing. I had to basically I was with the first girl for like 10 days, and then I went and met the other girl, and then I was kind of like, I didn't like the other girl, and so then I was kind of at this in-between stage, and so it came down to like this, the recoupling part, and basically it was like, of course they left me, all the other couples were like coupled up, they all actually liked each other, and then it was like me, and I was like in this, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. At this point, I knew I didn't have a future with Nakia, and the other girl I didn't click with. And so I was like, fuck it. So I asked the head producer during the day, I was like, hey, is it possible to just couple up with neither of them? And then he was like, yeah. He goes, that'll make excellent TV. Right? And I was like, done. We do it. And so I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. I couldn't tell the boys. I obviously couldn't tell the girls because they wanted it to be like as dramatic as possible. So they go through, everybody couples up. Then it gets down to me, and I stand up, and I got the two girls in front of me. And I basically just went up and said nice things about them because they're both great people. But I was like, but I've decided to remain single. And then everyone's like, what? And the rule was for the night was anyone that remained single for the night, like whoever was left single, had to go home. So I was like, I've decided to remain single. And Sophie Monk is like, huh? And then I was like, I'm single. I'm decided not to couple up with either of them. So I sent all three of us home. Which I think
you were just done. You were done.
I was done. I was like, and I even said it in my speech to everybody. Is I was just like, listen, all these other people like could actually find love. Some of them did. There's a couple of relationships where people were actually like in love from it. I was like, I'm not gonna find it. These people are all off the market now. The two girls that are left, I'm not gonna find it with. So I was just like, I'm not gonna sit here and just for an extra 2 days on TV episodes. I'm not gonna go and try and give some girl false hope for that. So I was like, I'm just going to stay single and leave the villa single. But yeah, it's just hilarious that we all three left at the same time.
Man, I love that. It comes back to your thing about just don't waste time.
I'm not trying to, I wasn't going to waste their time.
Yeah. But it's like so many people, it's like, when you think about, you get put in a situation, you're like, you hope you would do something right in that situation, but then you get into it and you're like, oh, a bit more TV time. Oh, another couple nights with some cute girls. Oh, and then you go into that. Mm-hmm. But you just went, I'm good.
Yeah, I was good. Again, it all comes back to the same ideas that we've been talking about, that it seems like we hold some of these values similar between us. Is like, so I was just like, I don't need to be, I did the show. I was like, I don't need to be defined by it. So, like, what are these extra 2 days of faking a relationship going to be with one of these girls? Like, doesn't really matter. And so I was just like, you know what? I think I'm just going to head out and take my medicine. And, I had my experience, and that was good enough. And then...
Yeah, see what you said, that's enough. Good enough. Yeah.
It was good enough.
I think so many people don't understand what's enough for them, and they stay in that for way too long. And there's I don't know if you've watched Batman, like the one with Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And he talks about you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I fucking love that quote, because how often do you stay in something, whether it's a relationship, a job, a career, a sport, and you stay in it that long that you start to hate it and resent it. And then you become the villain. People don't want to be around you. You're not doing it for the right reasons. And people feel and see that. So it's like you're saying, it's like what's enough is like being the hero of your own story and being able to go, this is enough for me. I'm ready to go. I've enjoyed this. See you later.
Yeah.
And do it with a smile on your face.
Yep.
No matter what other people think, it's like what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. So it's like you don't like being the villain in your story. You just be the hero because you know what's enough.
Exactly.
That's a really good point. What is enough for you, and and then it's like once you know, do what you know you should do.
Yeah. And I definitely caught some flack for that, like online and from the girls, obviously. They were pissed too. But
Couldn't they couple up? Free love, baby.
No.
Free love, baby.
They didn't like each other either was the thing, so that wasn't going to happen. But
that's good TV.
yeah. They should have. They should have left.
Why not? They only have another 2 days. It's like, it's a big, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the move looking back.
They should have done it.
Yeah, anyway.
Good TV.
All right, I've got a few more questions. We've got to wrap up. There's some other people jumping in. If you could go back and give yourself some advice when you're like a younger you, I obviously know you've kind of got that big live life more, but outside of that, what's some advice you'd give the younger you?
I think younger me and me now, kind of as we talked about earlier, could both use the advice of like live more for yourself and don't stress about what other people think. Again, as I said, like people pleasing is in my DNA. Not necessarily that I got it from my mom or my dad, but somehow it's flowing through me. And I feel like I need to make everybody else's, lives or thoughts around me better, which is good to an extent, but at a certain point it becomes destructive towards myself. And it's just like I want to be a certain person for all these different people when I don't really need to be. And so I think if I could just tell myself, like, as I'm still trying to tell myself now, and I could have just told myself when I was even younger, when I didn't really even realize it, it's just like, once you get comfortable with who you are, what you want, what your purpose is in life, stop stressing about what other people think. And I've gotten better about it. But if I would have started earlier, I think that I could have been in a better place and even now than I am where I am now. You know what I mean? Like I could have accomplished those overcomings of certain anxieties earlier that I'm still working on, battling now. So I guess that would be the best advice I could give myself.
Yeah, be a little bit further ahead. Mm-hmm. Still doing the same thing, but just a little bit further ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all a work in progress.
We're getting there.
Yep.
Talking about work in progresses, when you're going on dates, it's funny, the girl I've been seeing at the moment, like, when you do certain things and you do certain things because that's just what you feel like you should do, but then it comes as like a shock to them because like, oh, more people should do this. I want to talk about, because you joked about like first dates. What would you do for a first date? Like, what would be your like the series of things that you would put together?
So my whole theory with first dates was that anyone can go to a restaurant. And so I was like, what's a little bit, it doesn't have to be so unique, but what's a little bit more unique than just going to a restaurant and getting a drink or something like that, or getting a meal together. And so I'm going to expose myself to my girlfriend here.
Nah, don't do that.
Yeah. But no, I just thought it was, it was nice if I said, hey, let's go grab a blanket and go sit down on the beach and drink a bottle of wine. And it's very like relaxed and casual. And it's kind of one of those things where like, I feel like a bottle of wine is a perfect,
just enough. Yeah.
It's just enough to where by the end of it, both people are just a little bit more relaxed and willing to speak. But at the other end of it is like, once you finish the bottle of wine, if you're not feeling it or they're not feeling it, then you can be like, all right, you can kind of wrap it up.
We know, yeah.
Bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it was the perfect measure of you get to know somebody when you go through a bottle of wine together.
You find as well going to the beach, because I always tell people for a first date, this is just me personally, and it's kind of even how I've set the podcast room up. If you go on a first date and you sit at a restaurant and you stare at each other, no matter how much you're into that person, that's a full-on experience. You're like, holy shit. Like, even if it's all great, it's still a lot. So I always tell people, like, go on a date where you don't have to stare at the person and you can think, because even, I don't know, you know who Rick Rubin is? Music producer.
I know the name.
He's worked like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Adele, like heaps of big names. He talks about when you go on like a business meeting or something, it's like go on a walk or go somewhere where you're both looking out at something, because again, it comes back to when I say something, no matter your face reaction, you won't say anything, will make me think about what I'm saying, and it could alter and change. When you're looking forward, it's like your reaction isn't going to affect my words. So it's like when you're walking with someone or when you're talking on the beach looking out, it's like you can actually express yourself better because you're not feeling, and it might not be judgment, it might be like lust or like some sexual chemistry or hatred or anger, like no matter what their face is saying, you react a certain way.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling on a date and look out, it's like you can be clearer and then bond probably a little bit better.
Really good. Absolutely.
And then add the bottle of wine and then you're fine.
Add that bottle of wine and then you are set.
All right, Andy, we're going to wrap it up. I actually love that. That was really cool. I like the fact that I knew it was funny because it comes back to I knew you obviously played baseball. I knew you went on Love Island. I didn't know you much deeper than that. But for kind of how you come across, I didn't think we were just going to come on here and talk about Love Island and be like, what was that like and what was the craziest thing and all this stuff. I was like, you seem like a very chilled out, worldly person that actually has way more deeper things to say than I went on a reality TV show. And the fact that I know now you walked off it early was like, kind of stamps it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I appreciate it, man. This is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's good. I enjoyed this. I went on a different podcast a couple weeks ago, and yeah, the whole thing was about they just wanted to know about the show, which is, I get it. Some people just want to talk about the show, and that's cool, and I did it, and so I can talk about it.
Yeah.
But as we've said for the past 2 hours, it's that was it was a little chapter, that doesn't define the 27 years. I was in that villa for 14 days, and I've been alive for 27 years learning about things and failing and growing, and so it's nice to chat about life and the goods and the bads and those things rather than just a corny ass TV show.
No, I appreciate it.
It's good.
What's the plan there? You said you're going back to America, taking your girlfriend with you.
So first things first, on a couple of days here on Tuesday, we fly out to we do like Southeast Asia, so a bunch of the islands in Bali and Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, I think is.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's going to be sick. We haven't been to Asia at all either.
Oh, bro, it's so good.
I'm
so
stoked.
fun. The
You've been
food,
out there?
it's so fun. Just the food, you get a scooter, cruise around, everything's, it's just, you're going to have a good time.
Sick. Yeah, so I'm stoked. So her and I are going to do that. That's a full 2 months that we have booked out. And then we come back here just to grab our suitcases and then fly back to the States. And then we're back to being American.
Sure. And can you see yourself coming back at some point, or?
We'll definitely come back on vacations and stuff like that. I think part of the reason that we've kind of decided that home is going to be back in America is, again, like I mentioned earlier, very luckily enough, we both have very good relationships with our parents and our families. Like, I'm very close with my family. She is as well. And she has a whole, massive friend group connection over there, and I'm the same. I've made friends while I've traveled all throughout the U.S. And so it's like, okay, if we're going to actually start moving into a little bit more of a settled down life, it makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be there. And although we both love it here, like we love the Gold Coast. And I've said this a million times too. If I was like, if my parents were dicks, I'd live here forever. If I didn't like them,
I'm out.
If I didn't like them, or if they didn't get older, if they could stop aging for somehow, I'd live out here for a large chunk of time. I love it here. Yeah. But, parents get older, friends drift away, and so at a certain point, it's just like, you know what, I think it's time to go back and we can kind of start our life together there.
No, amazing, bro. Well, I'm glad we got this in just before you shot off as well.
Too good. This is a great way to walk out of here.
And I'm sure when you come back, plenty of friends still floating around. So
yeah, it'll be nice.
Looking forward to it.
Sounds good, brother.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.